Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to He Is Coming. That's the game that we're having a look at today. So if you're not across it, I do overviews on this channel. I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game. That's a Steam refund window. Steam reckons you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or not in that time. I generally agree as a rule and would say 20 hours in, you're probably not going to change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. So short punchy video, broad strokes info, keep it around 10 minutes and then you can make up your mind on your own. Oh man. I have been really pumped for this game since I discovered it, like last week or something like that, and at the time of this video going up, I don't think this is out for another week, but I'm not really getting my hands tied. But this is so cool. I really like it. Hooded Horse in top form again, as probably one of my favorite publishers at the moment. Bit of a little misstep the other day with Every Day We Fight, but this is great. And they're sort of straying into that microprose territory, I guess. Hooded Horse is usually, you know, more strategic niche, but it's cool to see them embracing this more old school indie aesthetic as part of their catalog, because this game slaps so hard. I'm not really sure if you look at this and you go, oh, I don't like those graphics, or I love them, because personally I love them. I think this looks really cool. It immediately sets off little alarm bells in my head that this might be the next Loop hero. Now, it is different, but it's definitely firing the neurons and exciting me in a similar way to how Loop Hero does. But let's wind it back. What is this game? At its core, it is channeling a more simple, old school, roguelike RPG. However, there is an auto battler component, much like something like Loop Hero, but that's kind of where the comparisons end. It's a perfect example of what I constantly bang my drum about, in that developers need to understand project scope and creep, and understand that taking the appropriate bite of the pie, as I often say, is the way forward. Don't add 10,000 different crap mechanics. This is sleek. I don't want to say simple, but clean. So as far as like your agency, your moment to moment, you basically just move around these footpaths, which are never ending and infinitely sprawling in all directions. There's lots of different points of interest, which you will start to figure out as you go. The game kind of just throws you in and says, figure it out. There are some like waypoint fast travel, so you can back up and go back if you want to go back to a merchant, or like a golem is one of the NPCs, I guess you could say, that you can interact with, and he will combine two identical items to make them a higher tier. So there's reason for that, but for the most part, you're mostly just charging along through this and navigating the game under its own little rule set. When you do come into combat, it goes into auto battler, which you can speed up, and it's based around a fairly basic stat line. You've got, attack, health, defense, and speed, which is essentially initiative order, but depending on the gear, and there's so much of it, and you unlock a lot of it from doing stuff, right? Have 3 identical items in your inventory. That's going to unlock new gear in the glossary and that. And so there's a sort of meta game to getting your loot pool bigger in a very roguelite fashion. But that's the limit, and which is good. That works for me. Roguelite upgrades and unlocks, or rather, roguelike unlocks, but not necessarily upgrades. Your character doesn't scale more. It's not like you get 1% more health per run. Your dude starts with a stick and 10 health, and that's about it. And you just run around, and you're essentially just trying to find treasure chests, run over them. It'll give you the roguelite 3 choices of items, and you put them in your inventory, which starts kind of limited. I think it's like 4 slots. But as you beat region bosses, which is after a couple of days of meandering around the game, the boss will appear and you fight them, and that will extend your inventory. Once you start to get the hang of it, you'll want to pull up the boss that you're versing. You can just press, I think, tab. It randomly shuffles up whichever boss is going to be there in the next couple of days, and you can get an idea. Sometimes maybe you want to bring speed to the fight, or just raw damage, healing. There's these sort of magpie creatures that I hate, and there's kind of a magpie boss that steals your money and heals. So spending all your money before the boss is ideal. There's a day-night cycle, which makes a big difference, because all the creatures in the world are static. You can't go round them other than taking another path, but at nighttime they actually aggro and will chase you. and that can be a bit of a pain. It's quite funny. You can go to a campfire during the night and pass the nighttime and restore like 10 health. Very cool bonus but if you're full health, you're better off kind of risking the night and exploring more and hopefully getting more treasure chests. But what I've described to you is pretty much the core loop, and the nuance comes from build diversity and working all that out. There's a lot of items to start with. There seems to be sets and set bonuses that are kind of hidden away. You can look in the compendium and it will give you a bit of a hint. For example, I've unlocked the redwood set. I think it was a weapon, a helmet, and a robe or something, and then that gives you a set bonus. In that case, I believe it's a heal heavy set, so like if you get wounded, which is to say you hit half your health, it will full heal you all the way up. Quite powerful, and just a one shot per battle item. But you get all sorts of strange synergies that you can do. There are things that, yeah, they just give you generic health or increase attack, and there are things like if you're faster or slower, depending on the item, than your opponent, you'll get more attacks per turn, and you combine that with, freeze, which will lock the opponent up for a few turns, and you can quite often steal initiative, belt the opponent so many times that you kill them before they even get a shot. It's very rewarding in the same vein as, like, your Risk of Rain 2s. I use that, it's low-hanging fruit, a lot of people know it, but I really enjoy a roguelike that will reward your tenacity when it comes to building your character and going from 0 to hero in a run. 1% to lightning resistance on a Tuesday afternoon, that doesn't excite me so much. But if you take a snapshot where 15 minutes ago my dude had a stick and was fragile and could die to anything, and now he's an out of control powerful snowball. I really love games that let you scale like that, but this game is not easy by any chance. I fortunately had a pretty good couple of first runs, but I've also had some runs that end almost immediately. I think I died to the first bear I fought in one run, just because I didn't have really much in my kit at all. So you have to really pick your battles and build cleverly, try and get those combos, try and forge items, Weapons seem to work a little bit different from items in your inventory, where you can kind of combine multiple inventory items together to make them a stronger variant. You can't really do that with weapons because you can only carry one. But in turn, you can still put oil on your weapon, or you can forge it and, potentially pay a nominal price to add affixes to it and make it like a freezing sword and that. So there's all these avenues to explore, and I feel like I've only just scratched the surface of it, and it is one of those games where I kind of had to tear myself away at the end of 2 hours to make this video because I just want to keep playing it. It is that good. Anyway, I don't need to waft beyond that. Obviously, I'm very impressed. I get that this video is going up a little earlier than normal, or at least that's the plan. So put it on your wish list and keep an eye on it, because this is absolutely crack and it's going to steal a lot of my time. Even if, through a YouTube video, just looking at it, it looks maybe simplistic by aesthetic. It's got the magic combination just right, and I love it to death. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.